What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to, of course, be going over with you guys. Some real weird and interesting news that I actually did not expect to really be talking about at all, but I guess here we are, with it currently now being reported that Zach Lavine is a potential trade target for the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics actually have quite a bit of interest in him. It currently goes on to say that in the case that Bradley Beal decides to stay in DC, which, hey, that's probably another conversation for a different video, but I think I'll touch on this one real quick. There's also been a big rumor that the Celtics are interested in Bradley Beal. I'm not too sure if I'll really, I might talk about it more in this video, but they really want Bradley Beal. I don't think Beal is going to stay on the Wizards for too long, but hey, I guess, you know what, we might get in a little bit more of this later, but yeah, the whole Bradley Beal Boston Celtics situation is a little bit interesting, but it goes on to say again, in the case that Bradley Beal decides to stay in DC, Lavine could be the Celtics' #1 target. The Bulls, who added DeRozan and Ball in the offseason, have full intentions to be a factor in the East, and this is all being reported by Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. Now, let me go over a couple things real quick. First of all, of course the Boston Celtics would be interested in Zach Lavine. He's a fantastic player. They'll have a bit of cap to, I think, spend eventually, as I believe this is Horford's last season. He's got a $27 million team option, which they will decline, and they'll probably try and bring him back for cheaper. I hope he re-signs, because I think he's pretty happy in Boston. Like, he only left originally for the bag anyway. I think getting Horford back would make a lot of sense. You lose Horford's $27 million contract, and pretty much you've got possibly like a near max to offer a player where they could go after Zach Lavine, but I just wanted to get this out of the way. I actually don't think Zach Lavine would be a good player at all for the Boston Celtics to get. Now, what makes Bradley Beal so good, I think, for the Boston Celtics is he's a dude that can play both point guard and shooting guard and be a real nice ball carrier. He can be a real dominant, of course, catch and shoot player, a real dominant, shot creator. And he can be a dominant playmaker when he really wants to be. The thing that the Boston Celtics, I think, really need is they need a player that can be, a really good off-ball point guard. That can also be a really nice catch and shoot player, which I really do think that Bradley Beal fits, that perfectly. Again, we've seen that to make way for like Westbrook or for John Wall. This guy can legitimately, have games where he just doesn't take many shots at all. I think the Boston Celtics, considering they've already got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, both of those shot creators are very big in that category. And then you've also, when they had Kemba Walker, it just didn't work having like a third dominant shot creator to the team. So then I think if you're going to go down that route again, it wouldn't have really made sense to trade Kemba Walker away. I really do think they need like a dude that can just play make and play off ball, which I really think Bradley Beal can do. I genuinely believe if he was to play with like Jason Tatum, of course Jaylen Brown, etc., and be a guy that can, play make, but then when it gets in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's hands, then go and play off ball, Bradley Beal will be a perfect player, I think, for this team. But when it comes to Zach Lavine, I've never really seen Zach Lavine play off ball. Like, when Zach Lavine, for his whole time in Chicago, he's been the #1 guy. Yes, he's had a couple of assists per game, but the reason he's had a lot of assists very recent seasons is because they've never really had a playmaker in the last couple of years, so he's kind of had to step up and do that. I guess he can play make a little bit, but definitely not as good as Bradley Beal's, ability. Not just that, he's very unproven when it does come to, being an off-ball type guy, which I think we'll really get to see how he does that this season. Of course, usually, he's always got the ball in his hands, like, legitimately always being the shot creator for this team, because there's no one else really to take the shots. I think now that they've added DeMar DeRozan, who's another, shot creator, you add Lonzo Ball, who won't be a shot creator, he'll probably play, obviously, off-ball when Lavine gets the hands, but gets his hands on the ball, but of course, Lonzo will be a playmaker for this team. I'm interested to see how, like, Lavine goes when he doesn't have to play make anymore, and that's up to Lonzo's responsibility, and he doesn't have to take, like, 90% of the shots, because, now 30% of those shots will be on DeMar DeRozan. I think that's going to be really interesting. If he can prove that he can be, good off-ball, then I think he'd be perfect for the Boston Celtics. But I really do think Lavine will stay at the Chicago Bulls. I think they're actually really building towards something. I think they're going to be like a 6 to 8 seed this season. You know, you don't get worse if you're bringing in players like DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Derrick Jones. This team will be a very solid team, you know, this season. But of course, I do think they have a real big depth issue, but that's also partly the reason why I think Zach Lavine should stay. If Zach Lavine can re-sign with the Chicago Bulls, then they've basically locked up a player, you know, for $30 million a season for probably like the next 4 years. And because you've got that locked up, then you can go out and fix your depth issue. Because again, right now, the Bulls are probably one of the best 8-man rotations in the league. But once you look at their 9th to 15th man, there's not exactly that many players there. You know, they're desperately needing a backup power forward and a backup center. Like, their backup center's Tony Bradley, and their backup power forward's a young kid I think they drafted last year who has never played a game. So for a team that wants to contend in the East, I don't think they're going to be able to when that's their backup power forward and center. But if they prove they can make the playoffs this season and lock away Zach Lavine, then backup power forwards and backup centers will come. You know, we still see that Paul Millsap is a free agent. He'd be really nice for this team. I don't think he actually went to the Brooklyn Nets, so that's another player they missed out on Paul Millsap, which does suck for them. You know, I was talking about actually previously that they should have gone out and gotten him. I don't know why Paul Millsap decided to go to the Nets. It's like players think that Nets and the Lakers are the only teams in the NBA. But that's my bad. I forgot he had signed with the Nets. But you know what I mean? A player like Paul Millsap, like a veteran power forward that's still available right now or maybe next year, could eventually come to the team. And maybe, who knows, maybe Paul Millsap next year, he might look to come to a team like the Chicago Bulls. I definitely think there should be a lot of free agents out there that, you know, should be looking to come. I still think they really need a good defensive power forward and a good backup center. In my opinion, if I was center, I would go out and sign DeMarcus Cousins. I actually think DeMarcus Cousins would be really, really nice for the Chicago Bulls. And then, yeah, just go out and get a power forward. But if we're looking at the Boston Celtics type of, you know, angle from this, I don't know if Zach Lavine really works on that team, because right now he's exclusively a shot creator. Like, we haven't really seen him play that much off ball because he's, you know, never been able to, because he's always had to take the shots. I think right now in the Chicago, if you were to put Zach Lavine on the Boston Celtics right now, it'd be, I think, a failure, because you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown taking all the shots. It'd legitimately just be like a Kemba Walker situation again, where Zach Lavine would struggle to get the ball at times because he has to play a lot more off ball. He's not used to the role, and that's same with Kemba Walker. That's what happened with him. He wasn't used to the role of playing off ball, and he sucked on the Boston Celtics. I don't think Lavine will be as bad as Kemba Walker. I could still just see Lavine averaging like 23 points per game, but I just don't think he really fits. While if we look at Bradley Beal, I have a feeling Bradley Beal could be that type of dude that could shoot like 5 threes, you know, make 5 threes rather a game for them, while, you know, being still a good shot creator when they need him to, being a really nice catch and shoot player like 24/7, and then of course, you know, being a ball handler and playmaker, which they, you know, desperately need. So yeah, I still think Bradley Beal is a preferred option, but if you can get Zach Lavine, you're probably not going to say no to it. But again, the Bulls are going to want a lot for Zach Lavine. Right now, the Celtics, I don't know if they'll be able to do it cap-wise. They'll have to make a sign and trade to make it happen. So hey, maybe they accept Horford's team option and trade him and a bunch of first-round picks and a bunch of young players to the Celtics to get Zach Lavine. That is a possible option. Contract-wise, that could make a lot of sense. Then, hey, Zach Lavine will probably play the 2 for them, and they still haven't really solved, you know, the problem of not having a point guard. Again, who they look to go out and get at point guard will still be a mystery, but I still feel like they need one. Peyton Pritchard, I think, will start for them at point guard this season. I still have a feeling Schroeder will come off the bench. We know Schroeder's best when he comes off the bench. He did not have a good season with the Lakers this year when he started, so that's my preferred, you know, thing for him. Who knows if it will actually happen. But yeah, Boston and Zach Lavine, I'm not too sure how I like this. Of course, I'd like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think Bradley Beal would be like a better option for the Celtics? Or would you guys like to see maybe them go after Zach Lavine? Of course, I would definitely really like to know all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. But of course, don't forget to subscribe to my, you know, gaming channel and my IRL/long channels. Don't forget to check out my podcast as well, and my new podcast channel, which I made, which I will of course be linking in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.